Purina believes no one should have to make the impossible choice between their own safety and their pets. But nearly half of domestic abuse survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping create more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters so survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit Purina.com/purple to learn more.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least that was the plan. Except now the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Playing music is loads of different jobs, like the actual job of playing music.
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah. So as opposed to maybe how in like 1973 you could just be a bass player.
Yes.
In
A session
this day and
player.
age, you are essentially a content maker. You're a DJ. You're a stylist. You're a comedian. You're you're everything. Yeah.
You're a manager.
Yeah. You're a manager. You're a that's
You're an idiot. Sorry, yeah.
Well, yeah, you're an idiot. You're putting yourself out there.
yeah. All of this is true. Yeah.
And I was thinking this morning about how my experience with like nightlife, there's a lot more mystery in nightlife than there is in like indie rock bands that you'd read. You know, you'd see the band on the Friday or the album would come out and the next Wednesday you'd read all about their life in NME. With in my experience, like going, I don't know who these people are behind the DJ text.
Yeah. Well, I mean, guess increasingly because for DJs as well, that mystery is sort of beginning to disappear as well because they I mean, DJs and influencers are becoming sort of very much the same thing, right?
Right.
So for
There's
DJs,
a TikTok DJ thing.
there's that, but there's also just like big time DJs. They just share every every private jet, every collab, there's so many things happening. So I assume that's just a matter of time before that feeling that you have about indie bands, it's the same for DJs. There's a lot of people who now look at what DJing is and just see it as it's not a trope I'm inventing here, but like they see it as just like, oh wow, it's the high life. It's like influencer. I get to go to all the fancy restaurants. I get to fly in a private jet. I get to stay at all the fancy hotels. So it's just a matter of time before you know everything as well about them.
Yeah, the pop stars.
Yeah.
What about like you specifically? Like, what's both of your like?
None of that.
how have you like your?
Eurostar.
Yeah, Eurostar's good though.
Yeah.
Eurostar's good. Best way to travel, train.
Right? Yeah.
How have you sort of evolved over the years of like wanting to maintain the mystery of your DJ sets, but also the kind of openness of like the band?
Oh, but the mystery, I do think us doing this podcast is kind of an unmysterious thing. In a way. It's like, and I feel like people more and more want it. I don't think always artists need it, or some of them would have loved to have done it 20 years ago, but there weren't that many podcasts, and there was only one chance to be on the radio or something like that. So I think it's down to each artist individually how that happens. But I think for us, we ended up doing a lot of the things that we've been doing are unmeditated and kind of happened to us because we wanted to be a bit like you. You were trying to go to all these gigs because it was cheap. You were trying to get into it. We also were such big fans of, I think, music culture that we were anything that we could try just to do and be around it or to see how it works. I think for us was what was driving us a little bit. I don't know if it's a good answer, but I mean it for us. I think we tried to even with too many DJs, we had the paper bags on, and it was a little bit us going like it doesn't matter who it is, but then like everybody knew it was us. So it was like it kind unlike Daft Punk, who also everybody knows who they are. There was a brief period there where I think anonymity was kind of like, whoa, this is amazing. Yeah. And now I think we've gone the complete reverse. It's like,
There's a line on the new record, and I'm not the first person to bring it up, but a line on the new record that's like, I want to play the wrong chord. I want to say something stupid. Yeah. And I feel like that's such a state of intent. And I feel like maybe that's got something roundabout in what we're talking about in like community. You don't know who you're going to meet. Everything kind of is an accident by itself. And we've got some cups of tea. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
So you were naked in Bristol.
I was naked. I woke up in the bathroom. I was wearing someone else's shirt. And like everything kind of in a way can be an accident. I mean, a lot of stories that I know about music, things happen by accident. You don't, like you say, you don't manufacture those moments or those. And
I do think, I mean, I don't know, I can't answer for Dave, but I think we've always looked for that. I think we're really addicted to when something that could be a mistake or that maybe was intentful, but without ever having a chance becomes part of the culture lexicon. That's when, I don't know, it's a bit like Superman or Ray Anderson. I don't think that was made with the idea this is going to be number one in Holland, for instance. Right, yeah. But it ended up doing that, and you're like, well, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. It kind of makes you happy that Against the Grain or a B-side becomes a thing. Or I think we're always, Dave and me always loved the dissonance or the thing that was just a little bit too hard or too weird or too, I
think there's naivety in that, and like people talk about,
or an innocence,
innocence. Yeah. People talk about trying to stay green, and sometimes that's where like the magic is. And I think talk about jobs. I feel like maybe one of the jobs of being a musician or a writer or a comedian is trying to keep hold of that little gem, like that little bit of gold inside of you.
Ooh, it's everything. Whether you're a painter or a fashion designer or a musician, it's the really the toughest thing. And it's becoming tougher and tougher in just this day and age because we're inundated by so many things at all time, is to have that direct connection between what it is what gives you goosebumps. And that is the thing that I think for a lot of people, the people who gravitate towards us, who come to us for advice or production or whatever, I think that is it. It's because Steph and I are maybe
idiots,
unapologetic about that. Like, and it can be sometimes harsh. But for us, it's like when we hear a piece of music or we see something, we're like almost immediately we're like, yeah, that, or take the chorus or this, and those things are your direct connection with. I don't have a better word than intuition, but like or instinct, whatever it is, creatively.
But we also don't know where that comes from,
and that's the beauty. That's the mystery.
A lot of people want to be next to Dave and me when we're doing a thing. Sometimes we don't even speak. We just go, yeah, it has to be like this, or because in a way we've grown like this. But most of those decisions are because it's not that you know what you want. I know what I don't want.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
It's really important. It's like, or what I like. Yeah. I know what I don't like. It's very hard for me to describe what I like because I'm still.
It's hard to describe stuff, but also when you like something, you know it immediately, and that's what I mean about.
Yeah, it's also very true. There's something that happens.
That's what I mean with
I fall in love instantly. Yeah.
With Goosebumps, is that it's as mysterious for us as it is for anyone else. Like we don't really know what it is, but what I'm trying to say is that I think for a lot of people, even that, like that direct line between knowing what it is that gives you goosebumps is. I see that around me. It's like for a lot of people, that's sometimes that line is, troubled. It's a bit like it's not as clear as it should be, and that's just because we're gone. Like there's so many factors to take into account for creative people, and it's one of the few things that we are.
But also this thing of creative people. Like that's such a weird world.
Everyone's probably creative in their own way, right?
And in a way, I think this idea, like for me, like us talking about this now, it's really weird because in a way, it's almost like therapy. Because if I start to think about it, I don't know why I'm doing it, and I I'm looking for something because I keep doing it, but I don't know why. And in that, I've hustled and tried and found things and failed and had the ability to do that. But I do think it's how can I say that for lack of a better word, the creative thing. I think a lot of people have it in them, but it's just how you.
Oh no, everyone has it in them.
Yeah.
But sorry, I didn't mean creatives.
No, like if you're going to say mood board to them.
No, that's what I mean. Like it's none of that. Okay. What I mean is just people who like whatever it is that you do, whether you're a chef or what. But it's just like a lot of people have to take stuff into consideration these days, where there's a social pressure or there's like I can't really say this or that means that inevitably your connection to that thing that I don't have a better word than intuition. Yeah. That is not as straight as I think you want it to be, because that's and it's the one thing that I think Steph and I are just unapologetic about, and that might be tough for people sometimes that work with us or around us.
People who are sitting left.
But it's the thing, and it's also what makes us dinosaurs in a way, because we don't, like you started with your question about like, you know, how do you keep the mystery and all that stuff. In truth, well,
there is no mystery.
We like there's nothing, because there's no mystique to keep up. But what we did grow up with, and still to this day, I think find the most important thing is the music or the thing that you make, like. And when I say sometimes that direct line feels not as direct today, it's because there's so many other things to think about, and we luckily don't have try to
focus on the music.
Yeah, and try not to think of all the other stuff.
We talked about making stuff, and I mean, time is a big factor when it comes to making stuff.
Time
it's our biggest enemy.
The highest commodity we're looking for. It's the one thing we don't have enough of. Especially for Dave and me, it's the one we're dealing with. But I'm also seeing that it's not just us. It's the whole world is looking for.
Everyone's running around.
In a way, I think the world we live in now is not making it easy for people to focus on things and to maybe how can I say that. Distance yourself a little bit from everything else and focus on things, which we also see with other artists around us. Mm-hmm. But for the both of us, I think that's a little bit that's something we're struggling with.
Was there a moment at some point where, you know, you had other things like going on, like, you know, living in a place or having relationships or family or whatever it is? Was there a moment when you were like, okay,
where do you want to start?
Right.
I mean,
there's a few of those moments.
Yeah. That's like both Dave and me become dads.
Is the question
when you chose music? When it's like
which girlfriend are you talking about?
No, like is your question like were there moments where those things were more important than making music?
No, like moments where you've had to choose music over those things. I think most people, no matter what they're doing, they have a few moments where like they realize in real time that their lives are changing and they have to make one decision or another, one road or another.
It's a deep question. Any answer we're going to give is going to annoy someone out there.
I'm not just talking about relationships, by the way. I'm talking like in general, big life decisions. You know, living somewhere.
But I think it's the one thing we've been struggling with for the last 20-something years or even more, because at some point, in or the relationship or the decision, am I going to live there or am I going to live there? We were sometimes not sure what, because of the world around us moving. And I think lately, by building a studio in Belgium, in Ghent, even though we had all these ties still here in London and we'd lived here, it was this. I think it was good for us because that settled one thing. This is where we're going to work. This is where we're going to make the things. This is where we're going to be a label. But we're still half of the time traveling all over the world. So that other part is still an ongoing struggle. But I think maybe if we wouldn't have had the studio, I think it would have been harder for us.
That choice of like, this is our HQ.
HQ, it sounds a bit maybe like the dream or like but in a way we needed it. Yeah. And then we made this dogma that everything that comes out of that studio is part of our label of Dewey. But in a way, I think we needed those limitations a little bit.
So what Steph's describing is this thing that we tend to do when we make music as well, which is...
Saying I'm an idiot, Dave?
Not at all. What I'm saying is that the similarly to when we try to make music, sometimes we set these limitations as a dogma, as like, oh, we have to do it with these instruments, or it has to be only this, and what Steph's describing is like sometimes these life choices that you actively make, like building the studio somewhere, that because it limits you, it also frees you up, and becoming a parent is one of those things, right? So because all of a sudden it's like there's so many things that I can't do anymore, but it also frees you up.
I have a little caveat. We were talking about this yesterday. What is amazing for us is that there's a whole new generation who are not dealing with any of that bullshit, who really know what they want. And it's because you would think the other way, it would be even harder for them sometimes. And it is harder economically, the world around them, even the business, everything. But what they want and how they want it and their goals and everything, it's very, very, very impressive how they go about it. The few people we've worked with, like half our age, really, they barely come in where you're like, oh my God, this is a lot of work. They pretty much know what they want, or at least the people we work with, be Marie Davidson or Boris and Charlotte or Angel, everyone. Like I'm a little bit like, it kind of sometimes even I'm like, oh, but what have we been doing? We were like 25. Like, what idiots were we? Like, because they have the tools also. There is sort of a template. And like we were saying, everything now is almost the new media. They can do it themselves. But that kind of puts them in charge of a lot of things already. Right. Where before, we as a band were completely, how do you say that? At mercy of the plugger at Radio 1 or whoever could put you on MTV, which now people go like, even when we say that, people go like, what? You had to make a... And so I guess there's a positive to this as well, because I think I've seen, like, we've been impressed with a lot of our younger colleagues.
Do you think it's more difficult for people in their 20s today than, I don't know, let's arbitrary number like 30, 40 years ago?
I don't think that's a subjective opinion. That's objective. Like, it's objectively tougher for not only because of just how the world socially or economically is, but like, I don't know, is the number, is it 150 songs a day that are being released on Spotify, something like this?
More than that.
Yeah. But doesn't it then, that's what, so objectively they have it worse for touring, worse to put their music out there, worse to get maybe attention in a way. Like
there's still the £50 support fee. Like that hasn't gone up.
No, still the same. Still have to give up, I don't know, 25% to the venue if you want to sell merch, and another 15 to whoever was. Yeah, I mean, they're being ripped off left and right. But I wanted to go back to the point I made earlier. Still, then they have their shit better together than we did, and that's pretty impressive. But the odds are against them. And they were saying like streaming, but even getting visas to go to America. In a way, like, let's hope it doesn't happen with Europe, but in a way, if the way that we do economy now in the world, I mean, it's really hard for young bands to go out there and to do things. And I think with the label, Dave and me wanted to help out, maybe with what we knew, the little we knew, to help out some of these people. But we also see that, they're up against it. So are we,
Anecdotally, I mean, with US visa stuff, even if you don't say something against the US or the president, even if you don't,
even if you're pro,
you can still have a tour booked, apply for the visas, and then 2 weeks before the tour starts, supposed to start, they go no. And by that point, the band's already bought their own flights out their own credit card or someone else's credit card.
That's one thing, or even let's take all the best case scenario. Everything works. then
you have the visa.
But it's just so expensive that you end up either losing money or like it's just a very difficult thing to pull off. So bear in mind, like in our case, we made the some might say foolish decision to tour with 3 drummers. So in total it's 18 or 19 people on tour. So that's like it's a difficult endeavor to pull off in 2025, even though maybe it might be bigger venues or bigger festivals. It's just harder to pull off because of the way the world is right now.
Do you feel quite educated? Have you educated yourself about how everything works?
No, well, yeah, maybe we had to. At some point,
I would say that we haven't educated ourselves, but the people we work with have educated us. Like they've been very good at telling us what's wrong.
That's a good way to learn.
But I remember we used to have a Belgian manager, and then we decided to stop working with each other, and we had to look for new management. And so we were doing the rounds here in London to see if there's anyone that we liked. And at that point, our booker at that point at ITB kind of told Dave and me, like, look, but you can still keep touring while you look for somebody else. I can help you guys out. And I think we got a little insight on how he was booking the tours, how much was going off, what are, I don't know, like taxes that are being taken. FEU taxes, whatever that was going on. And I think we had a little insight in that, because for a couple of months we had to do it ourselves.
It's always good to know the basics of how things work around you.
Yeah. And I think maybe I think this office specifically, I think having Massive Attack and Dave and me were maybe not the easiest people to work with. But I mean,
most rewarding.
I don't know what to ask.
Well, that's a separate podcast you should have with them.
That is a separate podcast. But I think we are the kind of people who try to push the limits a little bit, but it also shows you then instantly how the system works now, or how the system has changed.
Talking about live shows and how live shows are expensive for everyone, like really everyone. I mean, the artist and the venues themselves. I mean, people don't talk about that as much, but you know, every single venue is finding it difficult. Knowing that you and I and probably so many people over the age of like 25 now, like grew up going to gigs every other day we're at a gig. Music's just different now, and the thing that strikes me most is that kind of the communal aspects that will always be there, but probably lesser so, and not to the sort of...
I don't know if it's going to be less, but again, I'm not going to be the most negative here, but you're right. But I don't think it's doable if you're such a big venue and you have 20 people working for you, and you have somebody permanently working for you who does the lights and the PA and stuff, sorry. But what I do see is that a lot of kids, because of the fact that it's not making money, their music, or hard to get out, starting communities themselves, start playing in people's houses again. Yeah. And so there's this DIY punk thing that's kind of back again in a way, which really is hopeful, I think. And maybe in a way, this, I'm not going to, for lack of a better word, this over-corporate touring world we live in, or we've all grown accustomed to, is just not able to sustain itself, especially also on its footprints and everything. So I think people's inclination is to go back to playing at somebody's house. Oh my God, this guy's got a room, there's nobody there, let's go.
Or the pub that has the back room, or the basement where it's like, hey, can I give you 100 quid? Can I put on a gig tonight?
Yeah, so that kind of stuff I think is where the solution will be. And I see a lot of young kids doing that.
It's fun. Those nights are really, really fun. And that's when you meet people in the smoking area or on the dance floor.
It's also when you're a band, you have to set it up yourself. It's a little bit what I think Dave and me, when we're doing Despacio with James, and a lot of stuff, we were trying to get a little bit back that idea of that you were there from the beginning.
Are you implying that we are setting up Despacio ourselves?
No, Dave.
We can find a venue for you.
Okay.
Where do you keep Despacio? I'm not trying to get the location exactly.
It's in America, and sometimes Bristol, Carrie.
Yeah, but
I heard it.
It's in the US now. Yeah.
I suppose that's always going to be part of like or hopefully is part of the thinking, like you and James Murphy and LCD Sound System, and the way that, you know, there's a great story there that how, you know, they got brought over to the UK for some of their first live shows, and that was to 50 people, and, you know, not to put too much of a like rose tint glasses thing on it, but those gigs, those nights, those sort of 100 cap venues. I mean, sometimes they just are.
There's one we used to play a lot together, and there was one in Hamburg on the Reeperbahn, and there was maybe, I was going to say 75 people or something, and they had 4 lights, 4 different shades of color, and there was no lighting guy, and I ended up doing the lights, but I knew all the songs so good. And some guy afterwards came out, he was like, "Oh my God, man, it was such a good gig, and the lights were so amazing." And it was just because I knew how to put them off and put them back in, and then have like, I only had 4 to work with. Those kind of DIY things, a little bit, I think we've outgrown a little bit, because of when we do something, people, it's a risk because there'll be too many people. Yeah. At some point with too many, we had the same thing. We would end up asking to play on the second stage with all of our friends, and they would sometimes go, "No, you have to be on the main stage." And we'd like, "But it's not where we want to be.
You can't play at Hafenklang."
No. but all those things kind of, yeah, I agree with you. Those homegrown DIY things are a little bit where it's at, I think. And also because people are making different music. A lot of people now are making lots of softer music or harder music, and some of those venues wouldn't even allow the hardest thing or the softest thing. So, yeah.
I think it's really inspiring, the small venue thing, because it makes you realize you're part of it. You know, even if you're a punter and you stand at the back the whole time, you're still part of it. You feel more part of it then than if you're in the middle of a festival.
And there's a whole scene. We're just lucky because we know a couple of people back in Belgium, but they're all connected. They get people in from Italy, from France, everywhere. They go to this kid's house. They play at this kid's house. The other kid. It's a bit like punk rock.
Yeah,
and
it is punk.
But it's not that kind of music. They make different music.
Same way of thinking. I think punk rock's a way of thinking, right? Like, just don't wait for the green light. Just go.
Yeah. Very true.
You're like modular in the way, would you say that you're modular in the way that you operate, like either as too many DJs going into different places, but also as Soulwax, modular in the sense that you can kind of clip into other people's projects and other people's projects can work with you?
I would say that Steph and I are modular.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, some things, like say Despacio, it's not very modular.
Could that be the headline?
Yeah.
I think Dave and Steph and me are modular.
So Soulwax is not modular.
No,
unfortunately.
no,
like I explained earlier, it's like it's a especially in this day and age, the planets have to align for it to happen. Right. Same with Despacio.
There's really something in this whole idea of, we were talking about DIY punk. I think in a way, I'm not sure if punk is the word, but it's a bit of anarchism inside. It's something that's definitely in the two of us. And talking about the modularity, I think for Dave and me, because we're the same people, when we're too many DJs, or we remix, or we produce, or we are Soulwax, or we're Despacio with James, but it's always the two of us. And in a way, the idea that we can switch those things really helps for us. Mm-hmm. I just noticed that for the world, there has to be a difference, or it implicates something else.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean that it's for some people, if it's Soulwax, we can't come out and just go, we're going to DJ tonight. They'll be like, no, I want the band, I want the 3 drummers, and so there's expectations and stuff like that. But if it was up to us, I think we do that all the time. I think people here really are. Yeah, like they hate us sometimes because we go, we're going to do this. And they're like, no.
What are the stars that align for All Systems Align? I mean, because the album itself, like you say, I mean, it's the full band. I mean, it's not a short album. You know, it's a pretty full experience. So
maybe I should have said that we are modular in a way that we can navigate all these different things. Like we were currently doing a million projects at the same time in different guises, right. And we can go from one to the other, and we can then jump on a plane with a USB key and a pair of headphones, and DJ in São Paulo, and then come back and work on a fashion show. So that, I mean, modular in that sense. And Soulwax is musically, I would say it's modular as well, because it can be so many different things, and it has been and it will be. I think it's more like some projects, unfortunately, this is to our frustration, and we haven't really found a way to get around it. Some things are not modular, like Soulwax Live, because then all the planets have to align. When it comes to Soulwax making it in the studio, what has to happen, and it takes all the energy out of everyone around us and ourselves, is basically finding time, making that we have the time and headspace to be able to work on it. That's the biggest, like we said earlier, it's the biggest challenge. But once that exists, we're modular in the true sense of the word, in that it can apply to being, we can make I'm being facetious, but we can make a banjo record, and you know what I mean. It's
if you wanted to.
Yeah.
What was the first song, the first group of songs that you wrote for this record that you were like, okay, this is going to be an album?
Right. That's a good question.
That's a really good question, because I think we started off. Okay, so everything else we do, people kind of have a specific role for us as producers or remixers or co-writers or anything. So people ask us, help me out. How can I is this an idea? Or we go, no, this is the good idea. For this, Dave and me just went into the studio and just saw what came out of us. And it ended up being all very minimal, piano, no vocals. And we were like, wow, this is amazing. Maybe we're making a piano record, it's great. But then we would get offers in to play as Soulwax, which is also, that's why Soulwax is such a weird band. It has a life of its own sometimes. It's kind of like a beast, or a bit like Despacio. They pop up and you kind of go, oh, no, we have to do this. Oh, this is for real.
Signal or something.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we do it now.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. And people think, oh my God, the people want you to come and play. And then we have the 3 drummers and we're like, oh, we should make some songs we can play live. And I guess I think songs like Hot Like Sahara, All Systems Are Lying, they were all piano based in a way, but we kind of translated them to that. And then we just played them live. People never heard them, and then we kept them going and we changed them. And the nice thing is because we've been doing this now, and when the record comes out, a lot of people have seen us play live a lot, and they're like, oh my God, this is a completely different version now on the record. And we're like, yeah, but it was amazing that we were able to. That's also to go back to the punk indie maybe aesthetic. It's so hard sometimes for bands now to try things out live. And I think this idea of trying something out live, you see how people, or how you react to it as a musician, and then to change it and to work on it. It's the same thing we do with our remixes. We would make a remix or an edit, go into the club, play it, see it, go back, change it a little bit like we want it. And there's an economy there that I think a lot of bands used to have. Your latest gig is a good.
Someone wouldn't be filming it necessarily.
That's one.
Well, even if they do, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have.
But that's very true. Huh? That's very, very true, and that's something to go back to that's one of the things I think is prohibiting some of these younger acts to fail, which is what you really. Yeah, like I do think the phone has really prohibited a lot, but also allowed a lot of other things.
When you're remixing other people's tunes, and people in interviews will always ask you about your experiencing remixing other people's tunes, because some of those, those remixes are life changing, and then they kind of, a song that people already love. I'm thinking like Fontaines DC was a recent one for me. I heard that remix somewhere in public, out and about. I didn't press play on it, and like my head kind of, my head little explosions go off.
What are these guys doing?
This is so rad, and I wonder if you commit to a remix, you agree with someone on a remix. I don't know, what happens if you start it and you're like, okay, this isn't going in the direction that we'd hoped.
Then we stall. Yeah. Then we don't do it. Then there's something, maybe it's bad, but when Dave and me, when we end up at that place, we abort. We go, no, and then we start over again. Or we go, it just doesn't work, which I don't think it's happened that much.
Well, I'm trying to think. I think maybe once or twice in 25 years it's happened where you, like
it must
what you
happen,
say,
right?
I don't know,
but
yeah.
usually when we accept to do
It's
one,
because we like the song already, or we know.
or we hear something like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are like, oh, we can do something with this, and
So Fontaines was really easy because, we
Something about the repetitive nature of like Grian's vocals that kind of lends itself to the.
yeah,
amazing band as well. Like, and like I think when we heard it, we were like, okay, we can do
that
something.
that was just like we didn't need to talk about it. It was like, okay, yeah, that's something we can make. Something.
Marie Davidson was the same one. When we heard that Work It, her version, I think Dave and me instantly went, oh my god, but this could be. We can take this to we can put this into another world if we want to. So I think most of the remixes, or the Gossip, for instance, like a lot of these remixes were Dave and Steph having an economy where they needed the track to be as big as, say, something else that's huge, and try and get it there in a way for it to
for
just,
ourselves,
for
because we
ourselves,
wanted to
yeah.
play it in our DJ sets.
Yeah.
So that's usually quite a selfish.
So a lot of it turns around this economy, a little bit what I talked about, like the idea of like I need the Fontaines DC remix because I'm doing a Despacio, a bit like we're doing one in next week in Miami, and we made a thing, and now I need to press up a dub plate because I want to play it and see if it works.
Have you got your own lathe?
No, that would be crazy.
So
yeah,
don't
that'd be
start,
amazing.
don't start.
Yeah.
Carrie's gonna
Don't
get a
give
heart
us
attack.
ideas.
No.
Yeah,
You can build them.
yeah, but they're not as. I mean, it was what we've been told.
You know when Dave
The-
said time?
Yeah, the ones that you can build yourself don't have the kind of the quality that. That's why
We
go
had
to
an
other people.
opportunity
Yeah.
20 years ago to buy an EMI one,
Yeah.
and we didn't do it. And I still don't know if it was a good or a bad decision.
I got one more question,
Yeah.
and thanks so much for the time. It's great to chat about this, and I realise the 101 part-time jobs in being an artist or being a band,
Yeah.
working together for 25, 30 years. There's a lot to talk about, right? I mean, there's a lot of different experiences that you've had. A lot of, I don't want to simplify it, but like ups and downs, for probably lack of a better phrase.
Sure.
What do you think that you've learned the most? I mean, have you had one or a couple of moments over that time that, I mean, let's face it, like the things that any human learns the most is from fuck-ups, probably. Those are the biggest lessons. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
What are our biggest fuck-ups?
Well, I suppose so, yeah. And I suppose that could be live stuff, that could be tech.
You know what?
Or
one,
it could be...
Steph and I have never really talked about this, but there's one thing I definitely feel that I've learned from, and I think it is there was a large period of time where the world around us was such that without releasing records, for some reason, our career, I guess you should call it a career, was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we weren't putting out records. Like, we were getting higher on the lineup, bigger venues, more demand, and we weren't putting out
How
records.
is this going to help this podcast, Steve?
Sounds like not a bad place to be.
Yeah, but the question is how?
Well, I think I take full responsibility for this. I think that in my mind, I was a bit like, cool, because it means it's confusing. Because ultimately, the thing that you want to be known for is the thing that you make. But there was a period there where it was like, this is buying us time to come up with the thing that we really want to do. And then before you know it, you're like 7 or 8 years into it, and then what happened is then we built a studio and we got into this kind of addictive way of working where we set deadlines maybe every few months, where we'd release something, whether it was a collaboration or something by ourselves. And I think that's one thing I would say, like the period before we built our studio and launched Dewaele was a period where we were everywhere in the world, but we weren't necessarily putting out records. And weirdly, we were making music. We were touring that music. We were playing it live, but we didn't release it. I'm not saying I regret not releasing it, but I do think that if I would go back in time, I would put out more records.
Yeah. Is that for the sake of having that like prolific kind of nature where, you know, some artists you discover now and you go onto their Bandcamp and then you're like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and it's like, oh, this is awesome.
Can
But
you imagine?
definitely a thing, I think.
Imagine you're 18 years old now and you
Yeah.
discover Ty Segall and you
Who Diva Me Love.
and you're like, what? There's 35 records. Like, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
man, you
right?
have 10 years to...
Yeah.
to
Yeah, so that's something that
But that-
I would regret.
The one, but that's a regret. I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think one of the most important things is to just do what you think you should be doing and making, and don't play to the taste of other people or it's what I've noticed with Dave and me. When we like something, there's a result. It could be small, it could be big, it could be, but that's what it is. When we are asked to be like any other band or to do something that is in the, I don't know, like how they call it, play to the gallery, that's not us. It's not us. So I've noticed, maybe the one thing I would say is like whenever we come up with an idea, however insane it is, but when we're excited about it, that is the key to unlocking something. And for them to all become really, they hate us.
I feel like it's a very human thing to do something because you think other people would like it. I mean,
Very true. And I think when we produce other people, we do things, we try to tell them like, you have to be happy with it as well. Yeah, but I have to play this. And I understand. It's and also everything's now about liking. It's all about liking. Everything, people liking you. It's a whole industry made out of, look at me. But in a way, I think what people gravitate to is when they have a more authentic view of what kind of noise you make or what comes out of you. Is it badly?
What he's describing is exactly what I was trying to say earlier. I think that's the thing where we're kind of unapologetic and that could be harsh maybe to other people, but in our minds, that is the thing that we think is the catalyst to anything. Like whether it's success on a small level or big, it's just like the thing that you feel, the thing that gives you goosebumps, and to find your connection to that is the hardest because there are so many things to take into account these days. And people, like you say, it's a very human thing to be like, oh yes, I might love this, but I know this is going to play better in the outside world.
On the final point of that, I think when you get goosebumps of something, I think probably consistently it's when it's a new emotion. You can get goosebumps on something you've heard before. Nostalgia is a powerful drug. Mm-hmm. But when you get goosebumps of something that is new, that's something that's been made that's new. That probably has to be made unapologetically. Otherwise, it wouldn't be new. It wouldn't be a risk.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that is just sometimes tough because people. It's human to avoid confrontation, but also it's like you say, you kind of probably need it with yourself or with another person.
And
before you make something new.
also maybe one difference is that I think we come from a time when bands, I mean, this idea of being vulnerable and sometimes not authentic, but there was a lot of cynicism in the way we took pop culture and as bands. I think in the lyrics and a lot of stuff, it was very, I'm not saying vague, but it wasn't that open as it is now. And I think for a lot of people, music, you definitely see that with a younger generation. It's a cathartic thing, and when it comes from an authentic place, it really doesn't matter what kind of music it is because people connect to it. But that can be the hardest noise or the softest thing in the world, or the biggest dance track. And I think we come from a time where bands like Pavement or even Soulwax, we were playing with that, but we weren't really going deeper for that, I think. And that has changed a little bit.
I love the new, there's kind of that reiterance of Pavement now, isn't there, where it's like the movies come out and a lot of young people are into Pavement.
Because they go, where does this come from? Yeah. What is he talking about?
I interviewed Matt Berninger from The National the other day, and he said the thing about Pavement is that he was like, when he saw a photo of them, they looked like they were going on a fishing trip. No, they looked like they were packing to go on a fishing trip.
No, they look like they were amazing. But I'm just saying, those kind of bands for me, Pavement, I'm just trying to think. There was so many bands around us at that time where even Pulp, I think Jarvis had that as well. But he was a raconteur in a way, so he couldn't hide. I mean, Beck did the same thing. I think it was at that point that was what pop culture was. But I can understand why young kids now go, where did this come from? What is?
Well, hopefully, with the sort of DIY shows and the realize you can do things, hopefully that's coming back in a way.
That's where Pavement comes from, or that's even how we started, or a lot of other bands. Yeah.
Dave and Steph, thanks so much.
Thank you.
101 part-time jobs and a nice coffee. Cheers for watching. This is 101 Part-Time Jobs. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and all podcast apps. We've done interviews with Aurora, Kneecap, Idols, Lauren Maybury of Churches, and loads more. So tap into 101 Part-Time Jobs on Spotify, Apple, and all podcast apps. Welcome along to 101 Part-Time Jobs. Every single one of our episodes is available ad-free at our Patreon, patreon.com/101 Part-Time Jobs. I know that there are all these messages trying to sell you things that you may or may not want. So for £4 a month, that's around $5.50 US, you can get over 450 of our episodes and every single one in the future, featuring all the brilliant guests that we have week in, week out, completely ad-free. You can head to patreon.com/101 Part-Time Jobs, get all your episodes bother free, and you support us directly. Cheers.